Well, hello, folks. I am out again imaging the sun, taking advantage of what I think is approaching the peak. I'm not sure where we are in the solar maximum, but you you can look at the sun now almost any day, and there's something new going on, and that's one of the reasons why I enjoy imaging the sun because unlike planets, nebula, galaxies, there aren't many changes going on. And apart from Jupiter's moons and the Great Red Spot, everything's kind of static, uh, which still is, it's a hoot to image, and I love deep sky imaging and planetary imaging. But solar imaging, now, there could be changes happening uh, minute by minute, hour by hour. And so today I'm going to just start off by uh, taking you on a trip around the sun, um, trying to find something that's going to be image worthy, take some images, and then using both the Solar Scout and the Quark Chromosphere by Daystar Filters. By the way, I love the Quark Chromosphere, and I like my Solar Scout, um, which I intend to donate to the uh, uh, Fair Forest Middle School Observatory. But right now, I've been using it, and I just enjoy some of the images that come from it. I may just keep it. Uh, at any rate, uh, let's get started. Uh, I imaged the sun the other day, and I also showed the two kits that I'm using. On top is the Solar Scout, and it is the uh, equivalent really to a 60 millimeter refractor with a Quark Chromosphere built in. Although I did talk to Jan at Daystar Filters to ask her that question, and she said it was different, but had the same similarities, filtering hydrogen alpha and so forth, adjustments, and but at any rate, I love the images I get from it, and I have a excuse me allergies. That's part of going live. You can't edit them out, but I have the ASI 1600 mono camera. Now, I never intended to use this for solar uh, for obvious reasons. You don't need a cooled camera for solar. But I tried it and I liked the views that I was getting. The frame rate is not good, it's horrific. I'm around 20 frames per second. But then with the resolution of this camera, I don't need but 100 to 200 frames in my AVI files. So I'm happy with that. And then writing below that is it's a Astrotech refractor. It is a 65 EDQ, and it's about 300 and I think 320 millimeter telescope with the reducer, and it has a Quark Chromosphere that has about a 4x Barlow built in. It may be even more than that. So you really get in close with the sun. And the camera, again, was not purchased for solar. It's a cooled ASI 174, but it is a good solar camera with a high frame rate. I pull about 100 frames per second on this. Now, both of these have, I call them tilt adapters to combat the Newton rings that I would get otherwise. The Scout has the ZWO tilt adapter, and then I did get the Daystar tilt adapter from Daystar, and it is so superior that I wish I would have saved my money and bought two of these. And because I'm imaging, I'm going back and forth from this kit to this kit by just switching cameras in SharpCap. So they're both on the sun, they're both ready to go. And let's move on just a little bit here. Software that I'll be using, AutoStacker, which is free. Email CryCamp does appreciate donations, and it's worth every penny of what you can contribute. I make an annual donation for the use of this software, and I'm thankful he continues to support it. IMPPG is also free software, and I use that to process my solar and lunar images. I have used it in planetary, but I prefer Registacks in planetary. PixInsight is the software that I use, or I will use Photoshop, and to adjust the curves for colorizing, and the camera raw filter in Photoshop offers some nice adjustments that really enhance some of the views. And I'm going to use Photoshop today. The last video that I did, I used PixInsight to do sharpening and colorizing. So we're going to use Photoshop today, which is the only real change. And then if you're doing time lapses, PIPP is what I'm using. There possibly is some other superior or as good software, but this is free as well. And I will be putting a time lapse together because I'm going to start one in a few minutes using the Solar Scout. All right, we are outside and ready to rock and roll. The views that you're looking at now are of the sun through the Solar Scout, and I want to go north just a little bit. I'm using this sunspot as a reference to center the sun, and excuse me again, and we're going to need to go west a little bit to center it, and I'm going to and north a little more. Too much. One thing about this AVX mount is that because of backlash, it's slow to get it started, but once you do, it moves. But I'm going 8 times sidereal. I need to probably change that to, well, I'm going to leave it 8 times because in a minute I'm going to start really moving around the sun. Okay, let's go south a little bit. All right, let's stop right there and take a 200 frame image, and that finished it. See, I'm running around 19 frames per second. So let me do one other thing here, adjust this histogram a little bit. I may have to go up and work on sharpening, but I think that's going to work fine. But you can see there are some cool things going on. There are some giant, I mean, really giant sunspots here and here. Um, these are huge. You could probably fit an Earth-sized planet inside these and with room to spare. So these are monsters. The sun, the size of the sun, you could put 1 million Earth-sized planets and it would fit in the volume of the sun or the size of the sun. Big, big, big. But in the grand scheme of stars, uh, it's I'm thinking I may have these numbers wrong, but something like 1 billion suns could fit in the star Betelgeuse. I'll research that for you, but it's not the biggest star. It was CY Canis Majoris, and you could fit like 1,000 Betelgeuses inside of that. But I think they've even found a larger star than that. I have all that written down somewhere, but my 78-year-old brain can't remember all those stats. It's big. Okay, I'm going to switch and go outside, or not, I'm going to connect to the 174, which is on the Astrotech 65 EDQ. And so you can see we're in pretty tight now. And let's move east and go over here to this side. And let's move the sun up. And that's going to be north. And I'll go over and look at these two sunspots. And do a little west movement. We can get rid of this reticle. Yeah, that's those are huge. I want to do a couple of things here, and I'm going to take a picture of it. Let's move this north. One thing I want to do is to work on focus just a tad. And let's move the focuser in a little. Let's just try going in. It looks worse, so let's go out. Okay, I better pull up my comments here in case. Okay. That's pretty cool. Let's move this out again. It's at the point now where I can't tell 10 steps in either direction whether I'm improving it or not. So I'm just going to leave it there. But let's go ahead and just kind of do a tour of the sun and see what else is going on. Let me see what field of view I've got here. Capture area. Let's just keep the native resolution for our capture area, and let's move west a little. And then let's go north and head up, or sorry, south. Some more. That's cool. Nice filament developed there. More sunspots. Now these smudges are just debris that's collected on my optical train. Nothing more. Now let's go east some, and south, and east. Oops. I think my best bet for getting some good pictures will be these sunspots and the ones in the upper right hand side. Let's go out on the rim, and in order to see, I'm going to go down to this histogram and reset it. And let's overexpose it by, let's bring this up to say 30 milliseconds. Now let's go down to 20. 17's fine, and let's bring this up some more to okay. Well, already we see some wow. That's worth doing a time lapse on right there. Let's go back up. See what else is on the That's good too. I wonder if there's a sunspot or something worth imaging on the surface. Let's back the exposure down to, let's just go to 10 and gain to 100. And let's reset the histogram. Let's do a stretch. We got this. Okay, let's go back out. And continue to look at the rim. There's not much over here. So this is by far the most active part of the rim action. So let's go back down to 10 milliseconds here and 100 milliseconds here. Check my framework. Frame rate is around 100 frames. So if I image this part of the sun, I could bring out in a time lapse the activity, but there's nothing remarkable to see on the surface, and that's just due to the field of view that I have with the 174 camera. So what I've decided to do is not use this camera for a time lapse today. Instead, I'm going to bring up the Solar Scout, and we're going to use this. So I need to bring the sun down. West sun. Look at the dirt on the sensor. Wow. So this is some good stuff here on the Solar Scout. And I have the rim activity. Let me see if I can bring some of that up. Yeah, it's down here towards the bottom. The reason why I have this flaring is the tilt adapter. And when I overexpose, this is really evident, as you can see. Let's bring this back down. And so what I plan to do is in a few minutes, I'm going to switch telescopes again, and I am planning on taking a couple of images of these two big sunspots, and right here, this area right here on the sun with the other telescope. And then I'm going to come back to this one and do a time lapse. and hopefully we'll be able to see some swirling going on, as well as we can bring the prominences out. They're not prominences, these are solar flares. We can bring those out in post-processing. So let's first get those other images taken. So I'm going to go to, let's go back to the other camera. And let's see, we need to head, I think it's there, we've got to go north. And bring it down a little bit. I'm going to crop this in post, but let's leave it right here. Let's check our histogram. That's fine. Let me improve the view some and double check my sharpening or my focus. We'll try coming out a little. Actually, that looks better. Maybe go in one more. Okay, we're going to call this AT for the Astrotech, and that's all. I got to keep them straight because they're being saved to the same hard drive that's attached, little external hard drive that's attached to the telescope. Okay, let's go ahead and take 1,000. Actually, let's take 500. And let's process one of these. In order to do that, I need a flat frame. So let me let's move the sun down, and we'll stop about there. And let's defocus about 1,000 steps. And let's call this AT flat, and let's take 200. I don't need but 100 frames. So we want to remove this dust that's on the sensor. This is on the either the IR UV cut filter or the Quark Chromosphere, these dust spots. All right, we're good to go. And so let's bring up Auto Stackert, and let's open our flat. This is all going too smoothly. This is the 17th AT flat. Let's open this up, and we're going to open up image calibration. All we're going to do is create master flat, and that's it. Let's find a directory for it, and I'm going to put it where the flats are, and we're just going to call this master flat. Well, we're going to call it AT. All right, done. Now let's bring up our image of the Somebody's cutting their grass. And let's see here. We want to load the flat. When we load the flat, notice that dust goes away. So load master flat. There it is. And watch the dust. Let me get this over the side so you can see it. Bingo. I do have a hot spot here that I'll crop out. I'm going to put the control click action and move the box to here to analyze and scrub through some. See if I can find some a little sharper for a reference. I don't always do this. In fact, I rarely do it. They don't look that sharp. I'll just leave that. Let's analyze. And it's going to have to, since this is live, I can't put this on pause. And unfortunately, we're on a very slow laptop. Very little RAM. I think it's 2 meg or 2 gig of RAM. All right. It looks like I have a few frames that are better than 75% of the rest of them. So I took 500. Let's keep 20% of the frames. I have about 60%. That's where this green line crosses the 50% mark, that are in the upper half, and 40% of the frames are in the lower half. So 20% should give me the best of whatever's here. So let's place a grid. I'm going to use 104 sample points. This 104 is just the size in pixels of this sample box. So let's place the grid automatically. And actually, let's do 200 and clear this and place the grid. There we go. And let's stack this. And this is going to take a minute. When I'm finished doing this, I'm going to go out and set up the time lapse for the sun. And start it. And then once it's started, I'll probably sign off, just to sit and watch one image come in after another isn't that entertaining. Okay, so let's just go ahead and remove the software. We don't need it. Almost clicked out of Sharpcat. And let's bring up IMPPG. This is the tone curve. It's activated by clicking on this squiggly up here. And let's load our image, or open our image. And there's our TIFF file. Let's, it's not going to be very good. Wow, that's sad. Let's go ahead and process the entire thing and get rid of this processing area. You can just move this anywhere you want. You can draw the box and make your adjustments. And to save, if you have limited computer horsepower like I do, then you can just work on a section and then apply it to everything. But I'm just going to go ahead and edit and select and process all, and that box will go away. So, uh, uh, let's do this. Let's bring up the curves and we want to see the prom, so let's bring this up here and drag this down here. Well, we can't see the prom because I elected to crop. On it. I didn't pay any attention, but when I ran auto stackered, it has an option where you analyze if you want to crop this or expand it, and I didn't want either one checked because I lost my sky and I just wasn't paying attention. So anyway, I'll make a few adjustments, and because I could have brought the prominence out. And let's bring this up to 2400 or 2.4. Convolution, that's usually where I bring it. And let's bring unsharp mask up to 15, 1.5. Yeah. Well, we can really scare it to death and just sharpen the crud out of it. And it starts looking real funky. Okay, well, bummer. I'll show you what I'm talking about though. I'll bring up, let me bring the focus back out 1,000 steps. And here we go. Wow, is that ever hot now? But I'll bring up auto stacker and I'll show you what I did. We got to open an image first, and we'll just open that same one. No, that's the flat. No, that's the file. Let's bring that up. You know, actually, I didn't have any. I thought I had some sky down here, but you can see where I've got crop checked and not expand. When I'm trying to preserve my sky, I don't want it to crop, and because it'll crop out some of my sky. So that's what, but I didn't have any in the initial image, so that's why there's none there. That's a bad image. The other thing I want to image before I do the time lapse is this other area. Oop. Right over here. bring it up some and east a little. And probably down a little. Now we got sky this time. All right, let's see if we can't improve the focus some, because it is not focused very well. The scene's not terrible, but I'm just not getting a real good focus. All right, let's go ahead and take 500, and this is, get rid of this flat, and take 500. Let's go ahead and bring up Auto Stacker and do this one. And we got to load our master flat. Get rid of the smudges. Bingo. And then we analyze. And this time we have expand, improve tracking, surface, double checked. Everything's good to go. When I start imaging with the Solar Scout, because it does not have an electronic focuser, I have to go out and take my flats by using the Daystar flat cap. It's the best way to do it. You can make your own, but that gives me great flats, and it's worth every penny. It doesn't cost hardly anything. So I recommend getting a flat cap for your flats, and it will just defocus evenly across your field of view. This is telling me that only 25% of my pictures are in the upper 50%. I'm going to keep the same 20% though. Let's apply a grid. I'm going to go back to 104 and let's stack it. While that's doing this, I'm going to bring up and center the Solar Scout. So we've flipped telescopes now, and I do need my reticle. I need a single crosshair, and I'm going to center the sun, this crosshair, on this sunspot. That'll be my reference point. So I need to move the sun up and east. Actually, that's not going to work. Let me, I don't don't know where I got that idea. Let's try to center it the best we can, and then we'll move the crosshairs. It's getting close. Maybe west a little bit. Now let's move the crosshairs right there. Okay. It could come down some. Yeah, let's go down some. Too much. I'm going to change this now to 4 times sidereal. Okay, and let's move it west a little. And up a little. I think that's going to be pretty center in this frame. All right, we'll move our crosshairs. So when I come back, I'm going to start taking a time lapse of our sun. Try to do about 200 frames and our 200 AVI files between now and 1:30. So it will be a 2.5 hour time lapse. And but let's go back out to this. All right, we're completely finished. And sorry for smacking my lips. And we need IMPPG. And load this. Other image we did. Still doesn't look any better. Well, this is just terrible. Let's process the whole thing. And we'll move our curve over here. Nothing on the rim. Poobah. Well, son of a gun. Let's go up to 2.4. That's fine. Now, when I process the Solar Scout, I run deconvolution up to 4.0. Let's go to about 1.5 and 1.5. Well, there's absolutely nothing on the rim, so it is what it is. All right, let's set up the time lapse. I'm going to go ahead and close this. And we've already had some drift. I did polar align the AVX mount last week, 2 weeks ago, but I put a telegizmo. They stay out year round, and I put a telegizmo on it. I bump into it, so it's let me move the sun down some. So I need to go this way for that. And yeah, it's got to come back down. Tell you what, they've got a circular reticle that helps you to center better. So let's try centering this better. This is what I should have used a while ago. That's better, I think. Probably could go up a little bit. All right, let me bring up my single crosshair and move that here. All right, that's going to be my reference. Let's go up to capture, start, capture, start capture, and this is going to be scout, time lapse. We're going to do 200 frames. That's how long each AVI file will be. It's going to be, let's try getting 200 in with a 30-second pause between each one. So that's the plan. And let's start it up. Check our histogram. Everything's looking good here. What I'm going to have to do throughout this entire time lapse is babysit it so that between pictures I can make these adjustments. So I'm going to need to move the sun down a little. The wrong way. I'm going to have to cancel it. Because it's taking one now. I have to stop talking and paying attention. Auto Stacker will straighten all this out and stack them, but Auto Stacker will stack each individual, and IMPPG will stack all of the TIFF files together to make the time lapse, and PIPP will make the movie. Here's the steps that I follow. I take the series of images, then I process them batch. I do a batch processing in AutoStacker, and then I batch process them in IMPPG by making the adjustments I just made. I save those process adjustments, and then you can load those and batch all of your images. Then I use IMPPG not only to sharpen and tone curve, but I also use it to align all of the TIFF files. And once I got all the TIFF files aligned, then I load them into PIPP software and make a GIF file. I use a GIF format because if you load this onto Astrobin, the only way you can, they won't take AVI files, they'll only let you post GIF files. So that's the name of that tune. We are imaging the sun with the Daystar Filters Solar Scout. And we're doing a time lapse. My fingers are crossed that I'll be able to see some swirling going on around these sunspots, and I can bring out the solar flares. There's a pretty good sized one right down here that I looked at earlier, and when I process, I will turn the sky from black to white, and that will reveal the prominences. It's hard to believe that you can bring them out by making that conversion, but you do that using the tone curve in IMPPG. If Registax had the ability to do that, and it may, and I just don't know how to use it, then that software would be good to use. Sure would. Let's move. We need to go west a little bit and north a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect, just get it in there close. Well, where did my sun go? I've done some videos on time lapses, processing a time lapse. Haven't done one in a long time, so I may make a video on how to process this. This you have to do. You can't do this live because it takes it'll take a while to do auto staggered on 200 frames batch. IMPPG aligns them very quickly, and it processes them very quickly. And PIP is very fast. Auto staggered is the software that takes the most time. Let's see, let's go move it down a little, not too much. I'm so dyslexic. Well, we're capturing now, so. If your mount moves and you're capturing, don't just let it go. It'll align it. But you want to keep it as centered as you can, because if you let it drift, it'll go ahead and stack and align the images in IMPPG, but it may have to crop some. And I don't want to lose any of my sky, because I know there's some rim activity and I want that in my time lapse. So it's important then that I keep this as close to this sunspot as I've picked that as my reference, because I don't think that sunspot's going anywhere during the next 2 hours. Let's see, west just a tad. Okay, we're starting another one right now. One of the reasons why I can get by taking only 200 frames is that this camera has a real high resolution. Well, we're actually using 2640 by 2640, but its native resolution is 4656 by 3520. All right, I'm going to have to move this again. That's north. It's no surprise to me that it's drifting in deck a lot. Doing a time lapse of the sun using a Solar Scout by Daystar Filters. Hoping to get some sun activity along with some nice rim activity. I'm having to babysit this. I'm using the sunspot as a reference to keep this centered during this time lapse. You're looking at a live view of our star. And tonight I'll be imaging M101 with an 8-inch edge. And a 533 ASI 533 one-shot color MC camera. And then with another telescope, I'll be imaging with 2, and with the other telescope, I'll be imaging M52, the Whirlpool galaxy, and I'll be using an ASI 533 mono camera and be doing RGB and HA. And I'll be processing those, processing videos using PixInsight and Photoshop. Well, it's too late. I was going to show you how I use Photoshop. Tell you what, I'm going to put this on pause, and we got 176 remaining. So, no, I'm not. Let's go ahead and finish this. Start capture, and we've got 176 remaining, and so it's capturing. Well, folks, I'm going to be spending the next 2 hours doing just this, babysitting this mount until I either get 200. If I can get more than 200, I will. But I need at least 200. It's kind of my built-in requirement before I'll spend time processing one. So I'm going to sign off, and I'll pick this up when I'm done, and I'll upload the steps I used in processing the time-lapse video, and we'll look and see what a finished video, what we get. I have no idea. We're going to find out. I hope everybody has a great week. It's Monday, April the 17th. If you haven't done your taxes, I did mine yesterday. Tomorrow's the deadline. And if you live in the States, and so, clear skies, great week. Catch you later.